I will. If you can hear me clearly, they'll be fine. Yeah. Aha, meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. I'm getting a little message here. In that case, hello, millions of YouTube viewers. How nice that you're all there. Speaking to you from South Germany. This is Pete York here, the drummer of the Spencer Davis Group for many years, off and on, we might say. And as we all know, I guess, poor Spencer passed away a few days ago. And as it happened, I had called him, funnily enough, just a few days prior to his passing, because Muff Winwood, who Steve Winwood's brother, had called me to inform me about Roy Williams getting his MBE, because he's also a great fan of Roy Williams. And then Muff said, have you spoken to Spencer? And I said, well, I haven't spoken to him for a few weeks. And he said, oh, I wonder what, I hope he's all right, et cetera, et cetera. So after we'd finished our conversation, I thought, well, I might as well call him now, because it was evening time. Spencer lived in California, and I thought, this is fine. It'll be sort of breakfast for him. And so I phoned up, and he was there, but not sounding too good, I must say. He was sounding somewhat weak. He was kind of enjoying our conversation, and we were laughing a little bit and having some fun. But I think, well, I'm pretty sure that by the way he was speaking, he was on some very strong painkillers. He was speaking not quite, he was having difficulty forming words. And then he told me that sadly he wasn't able to walk anymore and that he was in a wheelchair. So this was all, bad news. But on the other hand, as I say, we had a few good laughs, and as we always did, and that was fine. And then just a little while back, I got the news that he'd died. So that was quite a shock, I must say. Anyway, I could speak a little bit about my time with him and the fun that we had, and also the fact that Jim Simpson's got probably more ad-lib photographs of our group than anybody else. I wouldn't be at all surprised, because Jim was around very much in those days, and we were very pleased to see him because he seemed to like us, and every opportunity he took our photograph, which seemed to get in some newspaper or another at the time, which helped us, of course. And you never forget the people who help you on the way up, because you're never going to see them on the way down. But as I say, my time with Spencer Davis was really the time that I came to Birmingham. I'd left school, I came to Birmingham, and I tried to find gigs. I was already playing the drums, and I'd been playing for a few years. And I started to sort of look around and go to jazz clubs and things, because I'd been mostly playing jazz while I was at school. That was my passion at the time. And then I met up with Spencer Davis, because I did some jobs with the University Jazz Band at Birmingham University, obviously. And Spencer used to sing in the interval, and he played 12-string guitar, and he had a harmonica on a kind of a contraption he'd made out of an old coat hanger around his neck, like an old folk or blues singer would do. And he used to love to sing those old blues songs of Lead Belly and Big Bill Broomsey and that sort of, the old country blues. And there came a point when he would do this during the evening with the bands I was playing with, and we'd find ourselves playing together. And we got on well. And then one day he approached me and he said, I've had an offer to do a residency at a place called the Golden Eagle on Hill Street by the post office, as it was then. So I said, well, that'd be fine. Well, what will the band be and what will it play? And he said, well, we'll play these blues things that I enjoy. And, that'll be the basis of it all. And then again, there are other recordings we could listen to and pinch like everybody did. Everybody was listening in those days. All of us in England were listening to a guy called Willie Dixon, because he was also writing a lot of classic blues numbers. So him amongst others, and we were going to do this music. And I said, who else is in it? And he said, well, the Winwood brothers are going to do it. So that was Steve Winwood, who I knew at that time, and his brother Muff. And Muff had played rhythm guitar in their own band, and Steve had played piano and sung. So Muff was going to play bass guitar with us when we formed this little group with Spencer, and Steve was going to play organ, some kind of electrical keyboard. What there was in those days, there was a poor choice of electric keyboards in those days. I'm talking about 1964. There wasn't very much. The Hammond organ was almost a mythological instrument insofar everybody knew how wonderful it was, but nobody had one. Not in England, at any rate, not the good ones. So we started our little band and played in the Golden Eagle, and we rapidly built up a very big following. And the following actually got to the point where I think we played Monday nights, that residency, yeah. Monday nights, the crowds got so big that they were queuing around the block to get in, around the block. And the television news from ITV came down one night to film the queue. I can't remember whether they got in the club and filmed us, but they came down because the news item was actually this extreme popularity of this little gig that had opened up on Hill Street in the middle of Birmingham. So that did us no end of good. And we started to do a lot more work in Birmingham, and I'll talk about the Birmingham gigs for the moment because I hope that's interesting for you. We played a place which was down above Yardley's music shop called Laura Dixon's Dancing School. And that was a gig at the time where all the bands like us were playing. Nobody was making a great deal of money, but the places were getting packed and we were getting exposure. And this went on through 1963, certainly. I was playing a lot. That was the year of my 21st birthday. Spencer actually came up very kindly to Nottingham and played in the pub with me on my 21st birthday. I'll never forget that. It was very nice of him. And so there we were doing all these gigs around Birmingham. And even at that stage, we were getting booked to play with visiting American bluesmen. And I can remember that we played, by the time 1964 came around, we had played with people like Memphis Slim, Sonny Boy Williamson, Jimmy Witherspoon, can't remember all the others, but quite a few. And of course, that gave you also great experience because it gave you the opportunity to meet these legendary people and find out a little bit about how they felt about life and why they made the music that they did. And that's where I began to learn about the terrible scene for Black musicians in America, the prejudice that there was and the difficulties they faced. And that was my first inclination of I'm not surprised they got the blues because it was a pretty hard time for them all. So as I say, we were gaining experience. And then came a fateful night when there was a concert at Birmingham Town Hall, and there were some rising pop stars on it. I can't remember them all, to be honest, but one of them was a girl called Millie, or Millie Small, to give her a full name, and she was Jamaican, and she had had a hit with a little song called My Boy Lollipop. And who knows what she was thinking about with that. Anyway, she, when we met her, she turned out to be absolutely delightful. But her manager was a guy called Chris Blackwell. And Jim, was it you who told Chris Blackwell about us? I can't hear you, but just nod.
David Postle was my pal at the time.
David Postle, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So Dave told Blackwell about us. Yeah, and Dave told Blackwell about us, and Blackwell said, "Oh, I'd better maybe come down and have a listen to these guys." So he walked a few yards down from the town hall during the break or when Millie wasn't on or whatever, and came in. And as he came up the stairs, as he relates it, he heard this incredible voice, which of course was the young Steve Winwood. And at that point, he said to Dave Postle, I believe, as Dave relates it, I'm going to sign this guy, I'm going to sign this band. This guy's voice is just incredible. And don't worry, I'll see you're all right. Well, that's one of the famous last words phrases, because of course, poor Dave never did get seen all right. We can laugh about it now because it's more than 50 years ago. But these are the facts, folks. If you want to know what it was like in those days, and probably still is, it's a jungle. Any questions?
Yeah. I mean, the rise of the band was overnight to the rest of us who were watching it all. But for you, of course, it got quite so quick, but it happened miraculously and deservedly because all Birmingham rock musicians, blues musicians were talking about the Spencer Davis group. And suddenly you got on a worldwide stage from, I mean, the band was what, 3 years or something? And in those 3 years, you did a lifetime of work. Imagine staying as long as the Rolling Stones had. What an institution that would be. But tell us about the rise when you've got Dimples. Was that your first single?
That was the first single, yeah. And as we all know, if you're hearing me all right, as we all know, Dimples was actually, I think was written by, I'm not sure whether he wrote it, but he made a record of it in the States by John Lee Hooker. And unfortunately, we put our Dimples out and it shot straight to the top of the charts in Birmingham. It also did quite well around the country, but I think it got into the top 40, if I remember. It was a hit, a little hit, but of course we didn't really hit it big until we had Keep On Running. That was the one which really did it, and that came around Christmas 1965. But Dimples was the first one, and a good number, I'm sure a lot of the musicians who might be listening to this remember it well. It was also very much like another R&B hit of the time, which we called Boom Boom. And it had this thing, dang, 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 you got dimples in your jaw, boom, 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 boom. They all pretty simple. So that was that one, yeah. That was the first hit, yeah. And that got us our fan club at Birmingham. It was run by a couple of ladies in Birmingham, and it was lovely, yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to imagine how it was for you all. A 16-year-old schoolboy and his elder brother and a jazz drummer of repute, and Spencer Davis, a folk singing school teacher from somewhere near Swansea. What was it like to graduate from the Golden Eagle being
into the big time, as much?
Tell us how it felt to suddenly properly recognised.
Well, that was part of it. I mean, it was lovely to be recognised on the street and have people stop you and ask for autographs. I'd make no bones about that. I really enjoyed it. My mother followed my career very well, and she actually was responsible for collecting the press cuttings that we had, because she went out on the Thursday or Friday, whenever it was, and bought all the music papers. So whatever was written about us, we didn't have a press cutting service in the very beginning. My mum did it, and she collected everything and put them in press cutting books, which I now still have after all these years. So yeah, but that was one side of it. The other side of it was, of course, playing bigger places, and not so much in the clubs, but starting to play on package tours. And we went on package tours with such people as, certainly with the Rolling Stones, with The Who, with The Animals, with Manfred Mann, with Brenda Lee, and on one occasion in Birmingham, which I never forget, and Jim was there, I'm sure, with Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. Was it Johnny Kidd or, maybe not, maybe it wasn't. The guy, who was that rocker who had an accident and got an injured leg?
Gene Vincent, sorry.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, beg Johnny Kidd's pardon as well. But it was Gene Vincent, exactly. And a little sidebar to this, Jim will remember, at the town hall where this concert took place with Jerry Lee, there was only 2 proper dressing rooms, as you might say, and then there was a big orchestra room. And because we were second on the bill, Jerry Lee was in one dressing room, we were in the other, and poor old Gene Vincent and his band had to muck in with the rest of the cast in the sort of orchestra room, which was much more, it was bigger, but it was very Spartan. It was just sort of wooden benches, really. That was about the size of it. And the odd nail banged in the wall to hang your coat on. So the manager, Gene Vincent, came into us and he said, is it possible that Gene could have this dressing room? Because he's got the bad leg and everything. And if you guys wouldn't mind going in the orchestra room. So, of course, out of respect for Gene Vincent, who'd been in the business a little bit longer than we had, we were really new boys, we said, oh, yeah, sure, Mr. Vincent can have our room, you know. Other little bits of trivia that we don't forget.
The Winwood, when Steve decided to go deep and full traffic, the band were undaunted. You continued.
We continued, yes. We did. No, we had a guy called Phil Sawyer came in, who had been with a group which Beryl Marsden was in. Shotgun Express. Phil Sawyer, and he came in, and also we found Eddie Hardin, who was an organist and a good one and a very fine voice. And Eddie had been with a group in London called, get this for a name, The Wild Uncertainty. And anyway, we took Eddie on the recommendation, funnily enough, of Long John Baldry, whose opinion we respected, of course, because, you know, John Baldry was a kind of an elder statesman to all of us at that time, him and Cyril Davis and Alexis Corner and those people. So we respected John's suggestion and we got him in. Also, other people turned up for the audition to replace Steve Winwood. And one of them was a guy called, I'm trying to remember his former name. But anyway, he changed his name to Elton John. I mean, where will you get with a name like that? But anyway, before he was Elton John, he came along and auditioned to be Steve Winwood's replacement. But when, sorry, to get back to this subject, I tend to wander a little bit. The thing with when Steve left, it was a great shock. And I must say it hurt because I make no bones about it. I thought maybe there was something about the rest of us that he didn't like the way we played or something. And I thought, oh, what am I doing wrong that this guy doesn't like to play with us? You know, I don't, still to this day, don't really know why he would do such a thing, except that the idea of being famous didn't seem to bother him very much at all. But his friends who formed Traffic eventually were, shall we say, more on his age level and everything else than we were. Spencer in particular was quite a lot older than Steve. So maybe there may have been something there. I have spoken to Steve about it, but I've never really had much of a straight answer. But it was a shock and it was sad, I must say. But we thought, well, we can carry on. The name of the Spencer Davis Group is a good one. We've had the hits. We've only just been having the hits. When Steve left, I'm a Man was definitely about number 1 or 2 or 3. And that's the point where he chose to leave. I couldn't understand it because I knew that we had a longer life in us, which we probably would have had, you know. But we took in, as we say, these replacements, and we made some more recordings, and they sold quite well. But you know, it wasn't the same. Definitely wasn't the same. The press murdered us, actually. If I think about it, the press was saying things like, "Oh, now that Steve Winwood's gone, this is the end of the band." But of course, it wasn't. We went on, and in fact, I can say, up until just whatever it might be, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, Spencer was still coming to Germany and playing with myself and Miller Anderson and Colin Hodgkinson and other people. Zoot Money was with us. And we were still doing gigs under the Spencer Davis Group name. Let me know when you're running to the end of time, by the way.
What's in it? Nick, Tim, sorry, please, just a couple of thoughts. I had a sort of coincidental meeting or two with Steve after the band. We had a recording session with Locomotive at the old Zeller Studios. Yeah. And it was Chris Woods. Again, so Steve Winwood stole Chris Woods to join Traffic, as you probably remember.
Yeah.
Chris turned up late for a recording session, in company. They were a Triumph Herald, 4 of them, driven from London, including Chris and Steve Winwood, and they were on a blue string behind the car. They were training a line of tin cans, and they couldn't stop down there getting these tin cans on the road. I could hardly get Chris's attention to actually record. So I think he wanted to be seen and to play and enjoy company with people who were fellow, shall I say, loons? Is that being quite cruel or not?
Yeah, I mean, one has to, you know, we might as well, at this stage, 50 years later, we might as well. There was a lot of smoking, shall we say, going on at that time amongst all the musicians. But Moff and Spencer maybe a little bit, but Moff and I didn't smoke. Dope, I'm talking about. But Steve and the traffic guys certainly did. And that may have caused a rift, because I found at the time that happened a lot, that the guys who were doing the drugs didn't like to be with the guys who weren't doing the drugs. For me, as a non-druggie at the time, it didn't bother me one way or other what other people did. I didn't care what anybody else did, but I just didn't. It didn't agree with me, actually. Didn't fit. You know, I didn't really enjoy it. I tried it, of course. Everybody does. Well, perhaps some don't. Miley Cyrus, I don't know. Have you got to go over now to the main stage for the live? On the phone. We've got another show at 7:30. You'll be interested to hear with Justin Randall and Dave Jones of Tina. You know well, because you played with them the last time we played at this festival. And by the way, this festival's not quite the same when we don't have you here. So a little quick reminiscence on Tipatina, any memories of them, and we'll love you and kiss you goodnight. Thank you very much, Jim. It's lovely to see you. Yeah. Well, I've got some memories of Tipatina, and they were lovely, and I really enjoyed playing with both of them. They're lovely people, and please send my love to them. And I hope the family has got bigger, probably, since then. But I love them because, of course, they played the music we love, which was that New Orleans influenced stuff. And I played a few gigs with Dr. John, you might remember, and that to me was getting close to the Holy Grail. Yeah. Anyway, love you and leave you, and hope all the best. And everybody who's there who I can't see, thank you very much for listening to me. It's been a great pleasure to join you this evening, and have a great rest of festival. Ta-ta. Yeah, peace. Always great to see you. Thank you. Bye.